Welcome to Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine. Our musical selection is I Love You, Porgy. I love you, Porgy. Don't let him take me. Don't let him handle me and drive me mad. If you can keep me, I wanna stay here with you forever, and I'll be glad. Someday I know he's coming to call on me. He's going to handle me and hold me. So it's gonna be like dying, Porgy, when he calls me. But when he calls, I'll have to go. I love you, Porgy, but don't let him take me. Don't let him handle me and drive me mad. If you can take me, Porgy, I wanna stay right here forever, right here forever, 'cause you're my man.
When I tell you that Lynette Barber understands the assignment every week, listen, she is on top of it. Woohoo! Hey, fam. I am Alexis Roan, aka Alexis Grace, founder of Truth Meets Story LLC, expanding empathy one story at a time, and host of Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers, a faith and adult storytelling series. By faith, I mean we explore how God shows up or is perceived absent in our lived reality, and we share that lived reality via adult storytelling. By adult storytelling, I mean stories that are told to adults, by adults, for people with a developed adult context. We show up and we make no apologies for how we come into this space. We assume that everyone is here, can handle what it means to be here. It's a good space, and no apologies are ever issued for that reason. 7-year-olds have a story time, and now so do adults. You're welcome. Okay, listen, I had to remove that one earring because although it was like cute together, the pair is cute together, it like knocks against the mic. And I wanted y'all to have a wonderful time with us today. I am really excited about so many things, but I think I'm most excited about how I have been courageous in ways that it counts. And not just that, I have been touting courage, and I have been pulling other folks into this courage train with me. And as I have shown up in this space, touting courage and speaking up, I have had the privilege this week of a lot of folks like reaching out to me saying, hey, this is what I did to show up. And this is how, it's being worked out. I'm grateful for that. I think I may have, I told y'all about one situation last week, but another thing was kind of brewing behind the scenes that I had no clue about. So getting everything set up. Yes, last week was our first time back, and it was, like, I've missed y'all, and all these things, and this is what's happened. So our featured storyteller last week was Superstar, and she was in Raleigh. She came to the studio to actually record the show. One second, y'all. I just realized this fan is on. Hold on one second. I don't know if y'all could hear that. I could feel the air, and it was comfortable, but it was loud, and I was like, oh, I can't. I'm having a hard time speaking. Anyway, Star was in the studio last week. She drove up from Charlotte, and then after our time, with Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine, she and I went out for some adult beverages. We had wrapped up our adult storytelling time, and it's like, yo, let's go and kick it like adults, and so we did. We were at this one spot, and we're cracking up laughing. We're just having a good time catching up. And then I go to she goes to the restroom, and I'm one of those people, I don't ever touch my phone when I'm in when I'm in good company. It's like, yo, the conversation is just robust and it's flowing or whatever. So there's no need to be checking social media or whatever. Um, but she goes to the restroom, and then I check my inbox, my Facebook inbox, and I have a message in there, and it's from another local creative. And she was apologizing to me for something that she had said about me publicly. She had posted on Facebook, and it was in response to something that I had agreed with, like a review that a critic had written, and then I had even shared that post. And so apparently she said something about me in response to that. Now, I didn't see the post. So she's doing all of this apologizing and like she was wrong, and she shouldn't have done it that way. And I'm like, well, shit, what you say? What happened? Like, catch me up on all of it. Like, listen, spill the tea. I want to know, what is all of this about? And so I said, well, snapshot what you said, because like I'm totally lost. But also, if you said something publicly, post your apology publicly. Like, don't be doing it out front, and then like you want to come behind doors and then and get it right. Let's get it right publicly. So she does that. She posts her apology publicly, and I commented publicly, thanking her for reaching out to me, and just saying, in the future, you got my phone number, you got my email address. Holla, like if there's ever anything that I say that bothers you or whatever, just send me a message, send me a note. I can handle it. I'm an adult. And then I thought, huh, this feels like an opportunity for something bigger. You see, there are a lot of folks in the theater community that loves to talk about inclusivity and diversity and Black Lives Matter and that sort of thing. But I think what a lot of people miss is that the whole Black Lives Matter movement was rooted in Black Lives Thriving. That's what it was all about. And so even as we talk about Black Lives Matter, it's like, really, it's about Black Lives Thriving. And this just felt like an opportunity for something. So I reached out to her and I said, listen, how about you and I go on record together, and let's discuss this particular situation. Let's discuss what happened, what I said, what you said, how it made us feel. And then let's have a larger conversation about what inclusivity could look like in response to like this particular situation. And she was like, let's do it. Ah, what am I saying? If we don't speak up, then we miss the rich opportunity to be a part of, all of the changes that I believe are waiting to happen. Like, there's a ton of stuff that needs to happen, but we've got to be the ones to say, okay, you know what I'm not going to do is sit quiet and let business continue as it is. We're not going to continue with the same old weary drama and just mixing up the characters a bit. Let's do something, and let's do it together. Now, I have no idea what will come of this conversation, but what I said to her was like, listen, woman to woman, creative to creative, let's go into the booth and let's talk about this situation. Let's lay it, let's put it out there. And I told her that it was in the spirit of poet and prophet Audre Lorde's on the record conversation with a white woman, Adrienne Rich. And they talked for days, and their interview had to be redacted quite a bit. But it was so honest. It was so honest when it's not the podcaster who's interviewing the subject, or the journalist who's interviewing, the person who, was making news. Woman to woman, creative to creative. Let's go on the mic. let's go on record, is what I said. And she was like, let's do it. So more to come on that. I'm gonna keep y'all posted on that. But also I had some other folks who were showing up and they all were like, look, I spoke up. I said this. And then this person tried to like call me out. And then I had to check them publicly. And then they want to go behind the scenes. It was a lot of that was happening last week. I don't know what the moon cycle was. Some of the stuff be happening. It's like all related to the moon cycle. So I don't know if that was what it was. If the moon cycle was just causing people to like, be all out of sorts. In any case, let the moon cycle be what it's going to be and let the people be what they're going to be. But in the virtual pews, like the way we show up in this space, we're not just kind of being entertained, but we're carrying the solutions and we're showing the way, and we're leading the way for others. So more to come on that. So thank you for everyone who has shared with me. Reach out to me, anything that's going on, in the middle of the week. I love, 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 love hearing that you are not just entertained, and that you're not just informed, but you are taking this information, what I share, how we show up in the virtual pews, and you are practicing it. You're letting it breathe. You're giving it, you're testing it out to see. And as you test it out, you're seeing that it's absolutely working. So, woo-hoo. Now, we also talked last week about how it is difficult for children to speak up. Hard for the kids to speak up. And right before, when I was driving over to the studio today, I took a call from one of my best friends, and he was telling me about a situation that his son was having. And we began to talk about the power of language and how language builds up, but language also tears down. And when he saw that his baby boy was experiencing some debilitating emotions because he's a football player and he has natural ability, but there was some resentment on the team. And he heard some folks say some things about him. And so his dad said that he started to notice that he was listening to that, like that natural ability wasn't kicking in. And so he surrounded him with a group of folks that were going to speak loving thoughts over him. They were going to pray over him. And he had to call his auntie Lex and say, hey, look, I need you to lift them up. And I was like, okay, I will do that. And also I need you to know, you tell my baby boy that he has power because he has language. He has the ability to speak and to declare. And so I'm excited about what happens when we use words, even for our children, when they use their words. There's some things that they can counteract. But then there's some other powers that we don't have as children. When I was young, South Park Village was where I spent the first part of my childhood in Houston, Texas, Southeast Houston. I loved South Park Village. My mama probably hated South Park Village. She was like, who the hell goes around like loving the hood? Like, where'd that come from? I did. I really did. So many interesting things came for me in South Park Village. Witnessed so many interesting things. There were so many situations that I could not quite name. I couldn't name what what being under resourced looks like, because Mom always figured out how we gonna do it. We always had a beautiful apartment. Our home is beautiful, like her decor and everything. Even like the setup right now here in the studio for Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine. One of my co-working colleagues who also offices here in this building, he said, "Are you in interior design?" It's like, because just the aesthetics or whatever. I was like, no, that's all Emma means. Hey, Mama, if you're in the virtual pews, tell the people I said hey. Tell people hey. I was like, no, but this is all Emma means. It taught me about aesthetics and just pretty things. So being in South Park Village, it didn't feel like anything. I mean, yeah, it would have been nice for us to have a house. And then, by the grace of God, we did eventually get one. But there was just something really wonderful about that community. But the thing that I envied that the experience that my brother Michael and I didn't get to have, we didn't get to go to school. We didn't get to attend school in that neighborhood. Everybody else got to walk to school. They got to sleep late. They got home earlier. Michael and I were bused out of the neighborhood, participated in the busing program, and we were bused to an art magnet school. And it was an experience that it had there was some rights and then there was some wrongs. The rights were arts magnet. It was the opportunity that I got my first official experience with theater. My first play, as a matter of fact, was Macbeth. I played the nurse. Mom, I think you sold me this long brown, like floor length thing. And I don't know if you was looking at we went to the cloth store and you found a pattern or something. I didn't look Elizabethan. Like I kind of wanted like the whole Elizabethan thing, but my hair didn't do that, whatever. But, I knew them lines. So my first play is Macbeth at this art magnet school. And I was also in the orchestra. I played the upright bass. What was wonderful about both of those experiences is that they never expected a little Black girl to be able to have that level of talent. Not so much to have that level of talent, but to have that interest. Let me correct that. Because all of the other Black students chose band as their magnet arts program. They're like, you can do so much more with band. And I'm like, but I like theater. I like playing in the orchestra. So every time there was a school assembly, every time there was something special, I was always front row center. And I always felt the love of my the other kids who were bussed in. They're like, "Go Lex!" It was always an interesting thing. So that was good. But there were some other things that weren't good, and I now know that they were. Some will call them microaggressions, but then there were also some actual aggressions. Nothing micro about them. They was like just aggressive aggressions. One of the situations was this little white boy named Jason. Remember his name? We were on the playground, and there was a Black teacher, Miss Johnson. She was, I guess, monitoring the playground, and somehow me and Jason were about to cross paths or do something, and Jason said, "Move out of the way, you Black monkey." Now, if Miss Johnson hadn't been there, I'd have whooped his ass. But Miss Johnson was there, and she's a Black teacher, and I respect her. And so I look like for some direction, maybe some permission, something. But all she does is say to me, "You bet not say a word." So I didn't. And then Jason runs off laughing. And then Miss Johnson walks away. Aggressive aggression. And that was wrong of her. I have no idea why she did that or why she left me vulnerable and why she left that particular situation unanswered. But she did. A lot of that kind of stuff happened in that space. And I would never go home and tell mom about what was going on. I just kind of, I don't know what I did. Audre Lorde has this statement where she talks about is it a Shakespeare character who was able to thwart a plot where he was given poison to drink by constantly just kind of bit by bit taking in poison. And so when the real attack came, he was immune. And then she said, "But I would have hated to have kissed his lips." It's kind of like that. Like, so whatever it was that I was internalizing, I was figuring out how to navigate it. But I believe that it was doing something very heavy and dark to me as a person that I would eventually work my way out of. That was really bad what Miss Johnson did. But one of the other things that we would have to do was in the cafeteria. When the students were bussed in from different parts of the city, we would come into the cafeteria and we would eat breakfast. And the expectation was that we would be silent. Bunch of rowdy kids in the morning before classes, don't talk. Go into the classroom, don't talk. Go to lunch, don't talk. It was crazy, right? Now we would find a way to, figure out how to navigate the space. And I was a ring, I can't say a ringleader. I was a leader. I was one of the like the leaders on the campus. And so like whatever I did, everybody else, would just kind of follow suit. So there was the cafeteria monitor, this old, woman, Miss Hart, looked like a bulldog. She did not like any of us busty in kids. Like we were bused into this predominantly white neighborhood, this arts magnets program, and she just felt like none of us belonged. But that's how she made us feel. And so one day in the cafeteria, before school started, it's always an issue between the two of us. She said something, and I don't know if I responded. I don't know like what happened, but all of a sudden, like everybody around me is cracking up laughing, and then she's like, Alexis, like, get up and move over there or whatever. So I was taking my time or whatever, and then she starts aggressively walking towards me, and I'm convinced that had she made her way to me, she would have like she'd have put her hands on me, and that would have been problematic for a lot of different reasons. So fortunately, I was able to get up and get out of the way, but I decided that was it. I was done with this. So I went home and I told mama. Now, here's the thing about mama. She knows her child. That's how she'd always say, I know my child. And so she would want to make sure that I hadn't instigated something first. But there was something about, like, I guess the way that I was approaching her, however the situation came up, that made her know that, okay, like, oh, they're like, so I need to step up. So next day, she late to work. She shows up to my school. She has the meeting with Miss Hart and with the principal. They call me into the office and we talk, and mom is very clear about, the expectations for me, but also the expectations for them. And from that day forward, there was never a problem with Miss Hart. Every now and again, she would say, "Now, remember, like what you said to your mother," or something like that, to just kind of let me know that, like, I was listening, I was in that meeting. We need advocates, and we need people to speak up for us and to stick up for us when we're young. But what happens if what your parents are thinking, the opportunity is so grand that you just have to take the ride, the full ride? That's the story that you're about to hear today. This storyteller is, oh, she's all kinds of beautiful spirits. I featured her, or she was one of the part of one of my quote playmates in Ancient of Ways, that the staged reading this summer. And what I marveled at is, while everyone else had theater experience, they kind of knew each other, they were different productions. She didn't have, like, that's not how she came, to this group. But when we were in the green room and we were waiting to go on stage, everybody was like, who is this a day? Who is this a day? Like, she was just that impressive. And you're about to get a sample, just a brief sample, of how she shows up in the world and blesses it with her presence. Fam, I am so, so excited for this story. It was originally told in a live event that a virtual event that I produced called # the Bounce Back RDU. Stories about a time we fell down, but we didn't stay down, we bounced back. It's produced Juneteenth of 2020. And she is here to gift us that same narrative in her way. So please welcome Miss Ade as she dresses her truth in story.
So, y'all, this day was just like any regular day as I was walking home from school. Except today I had passed my exams and I was full of excitement on my walk home to share with my parents what a great job I had done. And so it was a beautiful day. I mean, beautiful day. The sun was shining. And so I decided to take the route of the market. And so here I go walking through the streets of Porto Novo. And if you've never been to Africa, y'all, the markets are beautiful, they're vibrant, they're colorful, almost like this jacket I'm wearing. And the aromas that you smell are just of the food that my aunties have been cooking from bright and early that morning. And so I stopped by the stand of one of my favorite aunties, which I've done every day walking home from school. And I wanted to order some goûter, as we would call it in Benin, or snacks here in English. And they didn't know it yet, but these women would empower me to do what I do today. And so I'm standing in line, and her lines are always long. I would stand there about 30, 45 minutes, and I would watch. One woman would come, they were surrounded, they would surround this open fire with this huge pan of oil on top of it. And one would throw in yams, and then the other would come and stir it up. Then the other would come and take it out and give it to the woman who was addressing us and who was serving us. And I would stand in amazement at how, were they not hot? In front of this fire, it was hot. And I was just amazed by their strength in being able to do this every single day. And so I got lost in that moment in watching them do this cycle of serving others for the good of themselves and their children. And so I got my tevi, or yams as we would call it here, my ta, which are black eyed pea fritters, or my tale tale, which is fried bananas. And I enjoyed that on my walk home. And so as I turned, I could see the street that I grew up on in Betromede. And before I knew, I was standing in front of the gate, and we would walk to this gate. And to the left of this gate inside our home is this beautiful mango tree that would give us the most delicious mangoes. And so I turned, and in front of me was my mother standing in the living room, and I could see her on our yellow rotary phone. I'm sure some of y'all remember what that is. And I still remember the phone number, 22 47 63. I never forgot that. And so as our eyes met, I was certain that on the other side of that phone was someone talking about me, and that this conversation had every bit to do with the day. And so I walked in the living room, my mother hung up the phone, and she looked at me and she said, "Ade, you're going to America." And so in this moment, I felt so many things. I had so many thoughts. I mean, I had a loving mother who would wake every morning and prepare 5 children, bathe them and feed them and send them off to school. And we would come back home for lunch and dinner and be blessed with a table dressed with food. I had a very protective father who was strong willed and who instilled such strong values and morals. And then on the other side of that, I just remember all I've always been told about America. America the Great, America the Wonderful, America the Beautiful. Think of all the opportunities that are there for you. I mean, at this point, I thought that the roads were paved with gold. And so I sat and just felt so many things in this moment. And a month later, I found myself on a plane. And it wasn't until I was sitting on this plane that I was like, well, wait a minute. When am I going to see my parents again? Will I ever be back home again? Shit, I don't even speak this language. What's this going to look like for me now? And so I thought about all these things as the plane landed. I was picked up from JFK Airport. I was inside the truck, and on our drive, I was just looking up at the sky. I could see the sun kind of trying to come out a little bit, but it didn't shine like it did back at home. These trees just kind of covered it. It felt so dark and gloomy. It wasn't the same for me. And so I just kept having these thoughts. Oh my goodness, what is this going to be like now? And I had these thoughts all the way up until we took that left onto Lakewood Drive in Trumbull, Connecticut, where I was now introduced to my new family, a Black man, a Puerto Rican woman, and their 2 boys. And this was going to now be my life. And I knew it would be very different, as the air was different, the feeling was different. This just was not home for me. And so breakfast then turned into make sure you eat your cereal and catch the bus by 6 in the morning. Lunch became spaghetti and meat sauce in the cafeteria of Jane Ryan Elementary School. And dinner turned into you finished your homework, make a plate and sit and eat in the breakfast room table. And tomorrow is your day to cook. And so life began to look so different for me. That love that I felt from my parents started to dwindle away. The the dinner table, those meals I would share with my family 3 times a day just went completely away. And I started to question and ask myself every day as I sat in my room in the attic, why? Why? Because it didn't make no sense to me. Why? Why would my parents do this? Why would they choose this for me? And what could possibly be their intention in doing this? And so, in the moment in which I felt all this darkness and I felt so lonely, life just was so different for me now. I went into action. I said, well, what do I have to do? How do I leave this? How do I end this? And I'll never forget the day I walked into my guidance counselor's room in Trumbull High School, and I said, I have good grades, what I got to do? And he, with me, planned a roadmap to how I could finish graduating school early. So I finished high school February 10th of 2009. It's a day that is engraved in my memory. I'll never forget it. The very next day, I packed up my Jeep Cherokee and I left. Found myself a little studio apartment, and that's when I began life. Take 2, as I like to call it. And at this point, I was 17 years old, feeling very alone in this world, this unknown world that I had, through no choice of my own, been introduced to. And so 2 years later, I find myself in this beautiful hotel in New Haven, Connecticut, called The Study at Yale. And from there, I started working at this small farm-to-table fine dining establishment. And I said, well, what is this? Why do people come here? And they spend this amount of money to be here. And it was in that moment for me that I realized how food can create spaces in which we can have intentional experiences. And at this moment, it was just a thought. I still had some more growing to do. My perception of food, though, changed in this moment. I was like, wow, I was amazed. And so with the years, as they've gone by, I became a mother. And when I became a mother, life changed for me. I thought about my mother a lot, my biological mother, and her reasoning for sending me to America. At this point, I hadn't forgiven. I had so much anger towards my mother. At this point, my father was dead, so I could never have this conversation with him. And so my daughter was born in March of 2014. And a couple months later, I had the opportunity to meet with my mother. And I'll never forget that that summer night we sat face to face, kind of how like some of y'all are seeing me right now. And I said why. I asked why. And her response to me was that she was trying to do the best she could for me in that moment. And in that exchange with my mother, I realized in order to move forward, I had to remove the titles. I had to look at her differently, not at just a mother, because when I looked at her as a mother, the expectations I had of what a mother should be was attached to that. And I could not look past it when I continued to look at her as such. And so I looked at her as Angèle, a woman with so many children who thought she did the best that she can do in the moment for her child with the information that she had. And I imagined it was a very hard conversation for her to sit in front of her daughter, who was somewhat grown at this time, and hear what the reality of her decisions were for her. You know, I imagine how difficult that was for her to hear the reality of my experience based on the decisions she made for me. And so that was a genesis of the repairing of the relationship of my mother and I. And from there, I just began to heal more and more. And at one moment, I decided to go into food and to take it very seriously. And so, in doing so, and in starting this journey of healing, I found ways in which I can express myself and heal and look at the traumas that I've experienced and do something good with it. And today, what I do is centered around these women that I saw 21 years ago, well, 20 years ago at the market, who were surrounding this pit of fire with this pot of oil in front of them, who would take turns throwing things and frying and cooking them, who would communicate with one another in such a beautiful way, and who would serve us. And so my name is Ade. And what I do, I am a chef. I specialize in Neo-African cuisine. And what that means to me is that everything I do is rooted in the traditions of where I come from. And if it's infused with my experience as an African American, as an adopted child who was raised by a Puerto Rican woman who has an eclectic cultural background, who then takes all of these things and interprets it and plates it for you on a plate and serves it for you to enjoy.
Uh, Ade, you know I love you and I love the story.
Thank you so much.
What struck me this time, was when you said, uh, so you talked about like everyone thinks like, you know, for you, you thought, well, the streets of America are paved with gold.
Hmm.
And so you arrive and you realize that that's not the case.
Yeah.
But your mother, you said she did the best she could with the information that she had. She thought that she was sending you to this Mecca. And you almost, I feel like you left the Mecca.
Yeah.
I feel like what you had in Benin was everything.
Hmm. Yeah. And it's very true. I would agree with you. And, you know, I think there's a misconception a lot, and it's about perception as well,
Mm-hmm.
of what people think about our lives in Africa, or particularly third world countries. You know, how do you define happiness?
Mm-hmm.
How do you define what's good for you? You know,
Yeah.
how do you define what happiness is and what is good for someone else?
And as particularly though, parents, I think that, you said that she did the best that she could with what she knew.
Mm-hmm.
And you are a mother. So, what do you think would have been I mean, of course, hindsight is always 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But if you believe that the streets of America are paved with gold, and the communities in Benin are full of, rife with all of these beautiful people, mango trees. Did you have a mango tree in your yard?
We had a mango and a papaya tree.
Right, right. And so, who leaves a mango in a papaya tree?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Who
Yeah.
does that? But with that, how would you parent differently, or is it that you have you know better, or
Oh
you don't want to
man.
listen?
So listen, I'm a Black woman and I 100% believe in therapy.
Yes.
And so, I have this conversation with my therapist all the time about how intentional I am as a mother with my child,
Mm,
particularly my daughter.
yes.
I'm raising a young lady here.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think my experiences have just, opened my mind to how I talk to my daughter, how she and I communicate. And I think the biggest thing for me that I took from my experience that I try so hard to do with my daughter is that she sees me as a person
Yeah. Yeah.
and that I'm growing in the same way that she's growing.
Yes.
Whether she's 7 and I'm 30,
Right. Right.
we're both growing.
Everybody is growing, and thank you for mentioning, for saying that. Because as you're we when we all know better, we do better.
Hmm. Yeah.
And you just seem to be filled with so much grace for your mom. Are you as gracious with yourself?
Ooh.
Because it feels, well, okay, well, here's the thing though. I'm gonna tell you,
I feel attacked.
well, no, no, but I feel like you are so perfect. Like
Oh
I
no.
do. And but I'm saying, like, the way that you embody everything. Okay, y'all, let me just go ahead and just let me tell y'all kind of all of the other stuff Ade is doing. Like, she done bought property. Like, she has plans for a restaurant. She's got food truck ideas. She has a line of seasoning that she is about to release. Like, she is on top of it. Like she is excelling, and she is so exceptional and so humble and so gracious in every way. I'm like, oh, you just feel damn near perfect to me. I'm sorry.
I like to thank the trauma for that.
The way the trauma, and isn't that interesting how for some people the trauma is destructive and leads to destructive behaviors, but you were so self-aware, even going to the guidance counselor and saying, okay, look, what I'm not going to do is continue to live in this situation. What we got to do here? Like, talk to me.
Hmm.
You know
Yeah.
the hustle of the
Yeah.
system.
Yeah. And it's so interesting because I always, I like to think a lot. I spend a lot of time thinking and reading, and I'm always wondering, like, oh, nurture versus nature, like, what is it here? Where
Huh.
do they meet somewhere? Is it one over the other?
Mhm.
Because, I'm not the only one who experienced this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And I wonder how sometimes I ask myself, well, how come today I take the time to heal? How come today I take the time to face these things and talk through and work through it so I don't repeat these same behaviors and some other people don't? That's an answer I don't have yet, but I'm always asking myself that question. Nature versus nurture, or is there
mhm,
somewhere in the middle where this all meets? I
mhm.
don't know, but I just thank God for my resilience.
Yes,
I thank God for the person that I am.
yes. So do
That
I.
thank you. I'm constantly trying to learn, and I always tell myself that it wasn't for no reason. It wasn't.
Yeah,
It's for a reason,
yeah,
and for
yeah,
me to be able to go back home, even
yeah, yeah,
you know, and then take everything that I've been through and manifest things from it. I'm just so thankful
yeah,
and
yeah.
grateful to be able to use the not so great parts of my life
Mhm.
to bless myself and other people.
Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. Okay, well, listen, we got quite a bit of activity here in the virtual pews. So let me go to that. Okay, so my mom says mothers do the best they can with
Mm.
what they have and what they know. Mom is always saying that.
Oh, yes.
Miss Cindy, hey Cindy love. Cindy says powerful story.
Thank you so much, Miss Cindy.
Dr. Lamb says it's amazing how food is perceived so differently in white culture.
Mm,
As a mixed person, meals with my white mother were functional, while meals with
mm,
my Chinese father meant family. Describe
mm,
the immersion experience that you're preparing at some point, I
mm.
guess after the pandemic wraps.
Yeah. Yeah. So that is such a interesting thing that she said there, because I think, with mixed families, especially when the mother, um in my humble opinion, when the mother is ethnic, I
Mhm,
would say, because women, I think that we transcend culture.
mhm,
Women are the ones who hold it and pass it on,
mhm,
in my opinion. And so a lot of the times what I see is with mixed families, when the mom is African or black or a Chinese or Hispanic or whatever, that's the culture you're kind of raised in.
mhm.
And then if it's vice versa, if the mama's white or you know that's the culture you're raised in. So I mean, this is so interesting to me, Rachel, and I'm like I want to talk to you and understand more about what that was like for you, and exchange that with one another.
Yeah, Dr. Lamb has been doing a lot of writing
Yeah,
on her biracial
it's
experience. Yeah.
very, very interesting. I'm right there with you, so I'd love to talk about it. um but to answer your question, yeah, I'm working on a very, very personal piece for myself. I would say a very personal dinner, based on my experience and my experience traveling home as a grown woman. And going home and understanding, where some of our cultures intersect.
Mm, mhm,
And I'm going to be talking all about West African food, and how that intersects with Southern food, and how that intersects with a lot of other foods. And basically the idea is that we want to start some dialogue, that may be uncomfortable for some of us,
mhm.
but that really can initiate some healing in the diaspora.
Absolutely. And I think even the to center the conversation around the table
Mm-hmm.
is is even a more brilliant space. Says, thank you, Ade. I love this story too. It's wonderful to hear it a second time. Oh, that's right. Dr. Lamb was president, hashtag bounce back RDU. Okay. Hey, Miss Wanda. Miss Wanda says, Ade,
Yes.
your mother gave you a gift that you can only now appreciate.
Mm.
I love you and appreciate you. What you remember from your homeland has shaped who you are and will be. Everything else is gravy.
Thank you so much. Let me tell you something about, where I come from. Our mamas, our aunties, our grandmothers are who we listen to.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I was like, hey, I'm just going to go ask our elders to bless this, our ancestors to, be with us as we share these stories with people today. But thank you so much for that. I respect and admire you so much, and I really appreciate those loving words.
Yes, I love this Wanda. And Ruby's like, hey, Ruby's like, hi, ladies, love the hat. And they, okay, Ruby's like, okay, listen, I'm just
Thank
go
you.
ahead and like y'all been real deep, but ain't nobody commented on the fashion sense.
Thank you.
Oh, Ruby says, I'm learning the not so great parts are a gift. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. And then Dr. Lamb says, what you're saying is true. I'm rediscovering my Chinese culture as a 40-plus-year-old.
Yes.
Yep.
See,
Yep.
that's
It's
what
never too
we
late.
love to hear.
Hmm,
Yes.
hmm.
Yes.
It is never too late. Well, Ade, how can people follow you?
Oh, yeah. So mostly I'm really active on Instagram. You can find me at Dunu Cuisine, which is my private chef business, or Ilewa Foods, which is our food line that's going to be launching at the end of this month.
Okay, so but at Juno Cuisine, you'll post everything that's
Yes.
there. Okay,
Hmm.
okay, okay. Wow, Ade, I got to tell you, like I said, I knew that this was going to be a beautiful experience for me because you're just this beautiful and amazing person.
Thank you
So,
so much.
thank you for thank you for thriving, thank you for being resilient. But thank you for being compassionate.
Mm. I don't know what happened, but I can't hear you.
It's so weird.
Now
Okay,
I can.
there we go. Okay, so what had happened was apparently my AirPods are somewhere
Mm-hmm.
and just like automatically connected. But what I was saying was like thank you for being and thank you for just being this amazing person um, who has been not just resilient but extremely compassionate.
Oh, thank you. And thank you for what you're doing and giving the space for folks to feel more comfortable in sharing themselves and their stories because
Ab-
we need more of that specifically for our Black babies.
Absolutely, absolutely. We most definitely need it. Thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna put you back in the green room. Don't leave me.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Listen, I told y'all. I never know how like one week to another to like prep y'all for all of these amazing things. And I tell you all of the stories, this series, it's like that kind of thing. And I'm like, so I live for Saturday. I live for 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturdays when I get to trot out these powerful stories that are hashtag solutions. Okay, so before we wrap up, before we leave, there are 4 things that we do at Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine. The first is we offer a public lament, and what I'm lamenting right now is that we're silent. Too many of us are still silent. But I also understand that we are silent because we don't know what to do. We don't know what to say. We feel like what good will come of our speaking up or saying something or, or what have you. And they talked about her mother doing the best that she could with the information that she had. And there are some of us that are like, okay, I'm just not going to move. I'm not going to say nothing because I don't want to get it wrong. So I'm going to just not show up. That is unacceptable. And I lament the silence for all of those reasons. But here's my prophetic hope. There is, so I'm not I have all of these systematic theology texts and I've had to take all of these courses and that sort of thing. And the one that made the most sense to me, um, it made the most sense because it gave access. It was an entry point for everyone. It's called the Wesleyan Quadrilateral. And it consists of 4 things. And it says that the way that we make decisions about how to show up in the world, about what we believe, 4 things in the Wesleyan Quadrilateral. What does Scripture say? What does tradition say? What are our experiences and what's our reason or intuition? Now, when we talk about Scripture, it's like, okay, well, I don't know Scripture, or like if some people like, I don't know Scripture, or some folks like, I don't value it, or it's an ancient text or whatever. So if that is your case, guess what? Like that doesn't automatically exclude what you like how to come up, how to come up in your life. Um, for those who are like, well, I honor tradition, but not all traditions are honorable. I'm gonna go with racism as a tradition, right? Dishonorable tradition. All right. We're gonna scratch that one. There are some good traditions, and then there are some unhealthy traditions. There are some new traditions, some new things that we're doing. But like traditions, at times can feel a little, unstable. But I love the use of experience as a way for us to know what we know, what we know. It is a legitimate way of knowing what have we experienced. Every week when I bring these adult storytellers to you, they are discussing their experience. But then experience isn't the last way of knowing. There's also our reason or our intuition. Sometimes you just kind of feel like, oh, like I think that this is the right thing, or I sense that this is the wrong thing, that I need to avoid this, or what have you. Our intuition is also legitimate. One of my sister friends said that when she was packing to come and visit me in Raleigh, she was only going to be here for 3 days, and so she had, packed 3 of her blood pressure pills. And she said something said to her, pack 4. And she's like, I'm only gonna be there 3 days. So she only packed 3. So on her first day here, she was taking the peel and she was getting some water, and the peel fell out of her hand and went down the drain. I was like, we were cracking up laughing. I was like, okay, next time your intuition tells you to pack 4 pills, don't fight your intuition. Just pack the 4 pills. Just go ahead and do that. My prophetic hope is this: we all have access to breaking the silence. We don't have to argue with anyone about the tradition. We don't have to argue with anyone about what the scriptures say. We don't even have to argue with about our experiences or our intuition. But it does help to give everyone access and an entry point when we all know that we have an experience and we all have that sort of like thing that tells us like, oh, wait, that doesn't feel right or whatever. We need to pay attention to that. That's going to help us break the silence and all of us to come up. All right, that's my prophetic hope. And I believe that all is indeed well in all manner of things. All right, my energizing memory this week is of my brother Michael and me when we were 7. Now, I've used this picture before, but the memory that I have is of using this story. There's something that happened when I was 7. I received an injury that I carried for 42 years. And I tell this story in my guilt, shame, and storytelling workshop. And when I had that workshop a couple of weeks ago, I used the story, and I realized that the thing that kind of helped me to process the whole going after to end that 42-year hold, I realized that I never thanked him. And so I called him and I thanked him and I said, listen, there's something that I had been holding since I was 7. And you led me in an exercise when I was 49, a meditation practice, and it was effective. So thank you. That memory of the injury and the memory of the deliverance is the reason why I stand so, I stomp hard for the fact that what holds us doesn't have to hold us forever, especially if it's dark. We can heal from it. We can be better. Room is being made. The last and final thing that we'll talk about is giving. And again, I am encouraging you to give yourself permission to listen to your life, to give yourself permission to reflect on your experience, to give yourself permission to say that you know, because it just feels right to you. Legitimate way of knowing. Please show up in the world giving grace to yourself, giving all that you can, giving love, giving room, but above all, giving yourself permission, because it starts with you. And what starts with you, you're going to be able to show up in the world and carry that. And others are watching, and others will be positively impacted when you give yourself permission to listen to your life, to watch your experiences, and to go hard with that. All right. Now, before we leave, let me go back to the virtual pews here real quick. Oh, I forgot something. And you know what? I just realized that there was another thing that Ade and I were supposed to talk to. There were some pictures of Benin. I wanted her to share that with you, to talk through like some of those different things. Okay, so Dr. Moreland, she's like, I told you about them airplanes. Dr. Moreland, I know. I thought I put them up. I thought they were in their case. You know what? I just realized they are not in their case. They are in my pocket. Okay, I'm gonna put them up. I'm gonna put them away. I promise. Uh, Cindy Love's like, I live for Jesus Jazz Dessert Wine. I was like, I love it, Cindy. Okay, and first of all, I did not call you out. Okay, so the culprit who didn't have her blood pressure pills is Terry Janice Faison. Say, don't be talking about me. Listen, you outed yourself, so I had to go ahead and just put you out there. Anyways, my favorite friends. Okay, I want to bring our day back before I do the blessing and the sending, because I want us to go through these pictures. So can we go through Benet real quick, Ade?
Oh, yes, we
Where are
can.
you? Where the picture that's your background? Where is that?
Yes, y'all. I'm trying to work on this thing here. What you see behind you here is actually in Ouida. Ouida is one of the cities in Benin, and it's got lots of history. You want to know why? Because that's where the slaves walked through to get on them ships to get all over the world. And
Wow.
so, right here, what you're looking at, where you see that nice young man there, um, right to the left of him is art residency, actually, and it's beautiful, 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 beautiful. So they have a program in which they invite artists from all over the world who spend time. It could be months, it could be a year, in Benin, and then they create some sort of exhibit, and then they keep it up in the center for a certain amount of time, and people can come and talk about it. But it provides people the opportunity to be able to understand Beninese culture
Okay.
from an
And
artistic perspective. And
artistic
so this is Ouida.
Ouida. Okay. Now
Mhm.
what is this one?
Ooh, this is the Black River, La Rivière Noire, which is in Porto Novo. That's my city. That's where I'm from. It's the capital of Benin. And so this, they call it La Rivière Noire, or the Black River, because you can't really see what's down there. And so, in this experience, I went with a friend, and we got on these little canoes, and we went all the way down, and it was so beautiful. We went into a kingdom there, and, I got greeted by she was probably 170 years old. And she
Wow.
showed us how to make like one of the natural, like we have an alcohol in Benin called sodabi, which is real strong. And she gave me like the first drop is what only like the elders drink. And so I had the wonderful experience of enjoying that with her. And so that's the La Rivière Noire.
Okay. And this one.
Okay, so this is in Ganvier. Y'all heard Venice, Italy. That's, the city built on water. That's nothing. This is the original one. And so in the 17th, 18th centuries, as my ancestors were running away from slavery and slave captors, they found this lagoon in which they created a life for themselves because the raiders could not get onto there. And so they built a city on this water. And so you see these women here, even children, like they're coming from like their actual homes that are on the water, and they come and they sell here. And there's schools, there's churches, there's like literally everything is on the water. So Venice
Wow.
ain't got nothing on us, yo. We've been doing
Wow.
this for centuries.
And this space, right? This beach.
Yeah, so this beach is in Cali. It's called Cali Cali. Cali Cali is a somewhat of a food court that is in Fidrase, in Cotonou, which is the economic capital of Benin. And so I had, the amazing like experience of reuniting with one of my elementary school friends. It happened accidentally. We just like met up with each other. I was at home working on my spice line, and he sent me a message thinking, I was just here to do dinners or something like that. And at that point, we didn't even know that we had known each other. And he invited me to the food court. Essentially, they set up this space on the beach where they have different like shacks, if you will, and they serve all sorts of food on there. And he invited me out, and I was like, wow, look at how beautiful this water is.
Wow.
Hmm.
Wow. See, I wish we could have seen the food court though, or the shacks. We just had the water view.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
What is
I
this
got
one?
you next time. So this is in Porto Novo. So Benin, the French went through there, the Portuguese went through there, and you see a lot of the Portuguese influence in our architecture. And so this would be one of the buildings that were built by the Portuguese folks, and you can tell like by the colors and the shapes, like the little triangular thing that's up
Mhm.
there, whatever they would call it in Portugal.
How old
And
is this
so,
building?
oh my God, hundreds and hundreds of years old.
Wow. Is it still occupied?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, like I implore all Black folks and non-Black folks to come to Africa. I'll take you
Mhm.
myself if you're
Yeah,
interested.
absolutely. Yeah, you do it
Be
because
like a
you're
day.
planning that.
Yeah, just be like a
Mhm.
day. I'm trying to go, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, I got you. Let's go. Um, so y'all could really understand what it is.
Mhm.
This was I had the pleasure of doing the slave walk when I went back home recently,
Mm.
as an adult woman, and that experience, life changing for me.
Wow.
I understand my privilege and being able to say, "Hey, y'all, I come from here in this place." That's a
Mhm.
privilege, and I very
Mhm.
much understand that.
Mhm.
And so when I was home recently, I wanted to do the slave walk so it can inspire me to do something else
Mhm.
with food. And So when the slave walk started, we went through the slave market where, if you can
Wow.
believe it or not, people were sold. And then
Mm,
right next to that was the branding house where they were
mm,
branded. And then this image captures like a place in our walk. And then these women right here, what they do is this water right here blesses us with salt. When
mm,
you go to Africa, you see how different the salt is from here. The salt is like, because of the moisture in the air,
mm-hmm.
the salt is not as flaky or um, as dry as
Okay.
it is here. And
Mm-hmm.
women spend their days in the water, as you see, just like that. They have these the strainers that they strain the water, and then
Mm-hmm.
it gives them the salt, and then they
Okay.
sit in the marketplace or they walk around and sell that salt.
Wow. Okay.
Mhm.
And what's this one? This is the
This
last one I have.
This is yeah, this is also in Ganvier where I caught the image of a woman fishing with her
Okay.
child, and then
Okay.
you see the little baby on the
I'm
back.
back of the baby boy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's what happens. That boy is probably what, like 7, 8 years old at most. He's probably
Mm,
6 actually. And so the responsibility we have is a lot different than what we might see here.
yeah.
But this
Yeah.
is what life is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
in my time home myself, like having been in America for so long, when I go back, I constantly have to question myself and be like, a day, do not bring this savior complex here.
Love it. Do not bring the savior complex here because they look like they are managing. Like,
Yeah,
what do you bring there though? And Miss Wanda's, I don't know if you saw the comment. She said, "I'm ready to go."
I'm ready to take you, Miss Wanda. Let's
Yeah.
go.
So, what do you? You don't bring a savior complex. What do you
Mm-mm,
bring?
mm-mm.
What do you bring?
So if I'm going back to food for a second, it's very communal. Everything is centered around community. So what I could bring as myself, a husband, 1 month from January, I wonder, yes, come on, call me, let's go. Um, how random, how big, how did they even
Yeah,
find this little
Ruby.
tiny country? If Benin, I'm like, I'm from Benin. People are like, where's that? Um,
Really?
yes, don't nobody know where Benin is
Oh
because
no.
Nigeria is so big, it almost kind of just swallows
But
us.
it's in between Nigeria and Ghana.
Yeah. No, it's between Nigeria and Togo. See, so Togo and Benin are very small countries.
Okay.
So it's Nigeria, Benin, Togo, and Ghana. And then
Okay.
Ghana and Nigeria are much bigger than we are. Oh, he is from
He's
Benin.
from Benin. Mhm.
Ruby, you ain't say this whole time. Okay. Well,
Okay, Ruby,
it's
Ruby
very
got some
rare.
issues, Ruby.
Yeah, because I'm gonna tell you, it's real rare to find us Beninese folks out here in these streets. So you're gonna have to send me a message, and I'm gonna have to tell him, "Hey, my brother, I'm here."
Yes.
But what I bring to Benin, well, is opportunity in the most respectful way that I can. You know, and the way I do that is in my spices. All my ingredients are sourced from women in the markets of my country, and that is in hopes of creating an equitable future for us all. So
Mhm,
I'm not
mhm.
coming to say, hey, let me take you out of this. No. And even when we talk about adoption, I think very much so the question should be, how do we address what the issue is, not how do we just go in and separate
Take
these
these kids.
children,
Right,
take these
exactly.
children
Yeah.
from the
Yeah. Yeah.
culture that they are from.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it's very easy. And people might be like, Ade, what are you talking about when I say this? I think that, having children just in general or adopting children is like a selfish thing from us. Like, I want a child because I want to reproduce. I want I want a legacy. I want generations after me. It's a lot of it comes from I want. And that's perfectly fine because we're here to, grow the world. But when we talk about adoption, though, is very different, because how do you go into a place and say, oh, that child is perfect for me, when
Yeah.
all children should be loved
Right.
and
Right.
taken care of?
Right.
How do you
Right.
pick out this specific one and say that's the one that I want?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
don't think the answer is, adoption per se. I think the answer is, how do we change the circumstance?
Okay. 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 I told y'all like just crazy deep. All right, I just want to bring you back there,
Thank
bring
you.
you back out to take us into Benin. Okay, let me put you backstage real quick before we
Thank
close.
you.
Let's close out. Okay, listen. I think I'm just an amazing person because, like, I brought y'all a day. Look, twice for those who saw hashtag the bounce back RDU. Y'all are welcome. But join us next week because I'm gonna do it all over again. Next week, our featured guest is this beautiful person here, Miss Tekka Thompson, and she has a beautiful story about what happened when she was asked to give the Sunday announcements. Tekka is one of Jesus Jazz and Dessert Wine favorites, so set your reminder. 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. Follow me on this YouTube channel, and you'll be able to pull it. Ruby's like, yes, you are amazing. Like, so are you, Ruby. Takes one to know one. Love you, sis. Missed you. All right. So with that, our blessing and our sending. Now, last season, again, like I said last week, I used to talk about love as the commandment. But I believe that we, in this space, you understand that. You are love. You are love. You are love, and you are loved. How precious are God's thoughts concerning you? And there's a responsibility that comes with that. I want to read to you an excerpt from that Adrienne Rich and Audre Lorde essay. She says, from the Adrienne Rich and Audre Lorde and Adrienne Rich interview, white woman, black woman, having a conversation about a bunch of stuff. And this is what Audre says about speaking up and about not remaining silent. She says, putting yourself on the line is like killing a piece of yourself in the sense that you have to kill and destroy something familiar and dependable so that something new can come in ourselves, in our worlds, in ourselves and in our world. May you leave this space contagious with joy and committed to the courageous moves, the killing of the thing that keeps you complicit. Kill silence. Speak up. Come from your experience, from your intuition, from your reason. You have the solutions that the rest of us need. So speak up, show up, and know that you are doing the work of the Lord. Ashe, Selah, so be it. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you next week, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Jesus, Jazz, and Dessert Wine at Vespers.
My funny Valentine, sweet comet Valentine.